All right, so as a brief preface, what I've chosen to do here is get most of the recordings in a community setting, a public setting, in this case, a cafe. Because in this business, we exist in community, and community exists within us. And connect to other musicians, connect to the fan base. We have got to be part and parcel of the social media community surrounding us, the face-to-face community surrounding us, and that includes noisy, bustling places such as this. So, having said that, that's going to be a continuous feature of the recordings from start to finish, and I hope it actually is conducive to this learning environment. So, without further ado, let's get started. Good morning. My name is Julian Freelove, and this is my take on social media marketing in the music business. Now, the first question to which we need an answer is, why do we care about social media so much in entertainment marketing, specifically with music? Now, if you're at all familiar with the music marketing process as it stands in 2024, you might feel that a better question would be, why don't we care about social media marketing in music nearly as much as we should? Why are so many musicians tossing social media marketing by the wayside and not seeing it as more... Successful musician has got to recognize... Now, any successful musician has got to recognize that social media is now the modus operandi du jour for at least two crucial aspects of successful career building in any facet of entertainment, music perhaps most so. One, networking, whether it's with other artists or to collaborate and create joint creative ventures, or tastemakers, i.e. the bloggers, whose primary goal is to pump new music out to the world and make more audiences aware of this up-and-coming solo artist or this up-and-coming band. And two, far more important, but the tastemakers are a vital part of this, building an audience. Miss out on opportunities for either of these two things, and as a musician, you will So I think we can all agree that when an artist goes about from the outside in, creating exactly what a certain pocket of the target market would want to hear, or what the popular trend would want to hear, rather than starting from your authentic self and letting the fans come to you in that way, in terms of the way you shape your sound, your lyrics, or what have you, that there are some very ugly words for that, a few of which are printable, and quite a few of which are use of sexist overtones. So for those two very obvious reasons, we're going to skip that portion. But for a bigger reason is that there's something to be said for using the algorithm, the marketing algorithm, to identify your target market, who the target market is, and tailor not your sound necessarily, but your marketing strategy, your social media strategy, your platform strategy, your posting strategy, your content strategy, in terms of content, in terms of what you post to the blog, what kind of updates you show, what kind of behind the scenes you think your fans most want to hear. Because I feel like once you've got a fan base that is with you for your sound, for your artistic taste, for your artistic output alone, from that point onward, I feel like tailor the rest of your output to meet the artistic taste of the folks who have already come to you for that part of your artistic output that is who you are, your music, in other words. Then the rest can be a matter of strictly of taste. And to quote the rather problematic figure of Thomas Jefferson, matters of principle, i.e. your art, sound like a rock, but it matters of taste. Once you've got a fan base that's come to you based on your art, swim the current, all right? There's no harm in that. Even if over your dead body, would you change your sound to your demographic, you can tailor your marketing strategy to reach out to, for example, a fan base that uses TikTok over any other social media platform, and prefers a posting schedule of every other day as opposed to, say, once a week or once a day or twice a day, and so on and so forth. You've got to find what works from a marketing perspective. Yes, once you've done that, you can also connect with folks that have a shared interest in other bands. There's a big part of the target market that, say, also is a fan of Seosin or Opeth. It might be possible for you to forge an alliance with that band based on the fan interest. If both target markets are, if there's an overlap, then you can find collaborations that way, make long-standing alliances over careers that potentially last, a decade or decades in the plural, if you are lucky. And also, a lot of acts, One Direction being a prime example, will not get signed unless they've got a digital footprint. To a lot of entrepreneurs, it's a literal sign of the artist's will to succeed. A lot of folks look at an artist with no social media profile and think, are they even in the game at all? Do they even care? If they don't have a social media profile, at least one or two, then what's the point? What are they in this for? So, having said all that, focus on social media. Thank you. So I think we can all agree. Now, aside from the fact that marketing is a matter of taste and makes a real difference in the outreach of your music and your work, is that 90% of all artists fail. And according to DK Music Business Academy, their mistake number one is not taking marketing seriously. Included underneath that umbrella is expecting success overnight, and that the work does not. Now, aside from the fact that marketing is a matter of taste and makes a real difference in the outreach of your music and your work, is that 90% of all artists fail. And according to DK Music Business Academy, their mistake number one is not taking marketing seriously. Included underneath that umbrella is expecting success overnight, and that the work does not end with getting a record deal. That is the beginning. Another is releasing content inconsistently. Folks will post in waves, twice a day, every other day, and go missing for like a week, 2 weeks. Now, personally, also important to note is that the need to wait for approval from the music industry, whether that's a major label, whether that's Reprise, Warner Brothers, and so on and so forth, is long gone. Okay? Different game. That game's over. There are no gatekeepers anymore. No need to chase validation from the industry. And also, comparing yourself to somebody who's gotten a major deal with a major label means nothing. Your aim is to be the best version of you and to compare yourself against past you. That is the sum total, no more, no less. A comparison may be good in small doses, may help you understand who you're up against, what you could do better, but don't make a habit of it. And the main person you want to beat are past iterations of you. Again, no more, no less. Growth is the name of the game. I want to get into some ways you can make that happen. All right, let's make it happen. Also important to note is, now the purpose of any social media platform with any sort of music marketing or entertainment marketing is twofold. A, to network with other musicians and coalition build and or collaborate. And B, much more importantly, to create a means of outreach and community building in order to create and grow a fan base. Now, no matter what social media platform becomes the shared niche between yourself and the target market, real growth comes from consistency. And if you're having issues not hitting your social media goals, you have to, first of all, think in terms of what time of day you want to create, not when you post. If you want to, say, post by 5 p.m., you've got to think, okay, between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m., I'm creating, not by 5 p.m., I need to post. This way, you've got better content, much superior quality. And if you are still struggling, what you've got to do is create a calendar. Again, plan content ahead of time, set deadlines, and break down existing content into smaller pieces. Get into a rhythm of providing quality content for the world, your fans, your followers each day. It's important to show up in some form or another every day, whether that's a post or interacting with fans in a meaningful way. Just show up, take risks, and that 10% of success followers understand that experience is built over time and repeating the process. Now, the purpose, because think about it. Whenever we first hear about a band that strikes our interest, social media, be it Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or YouTube, is the first place we go to check them out. It's the origin point for most of us of any discovery process for a new artist, in part because we want their story, or their villain origin story, depending on the context, of course. The point being, social media is always the starting point, the origin point, again, for any discovery process for almost anybody in this part of the world. In the process of discovering a new artist, a new band, new anything almost. Because social media engagement and follower growth can be measured in terms of things like website traffic, or shares, follower growth, comments, or any sort of interaction you might have with your fans specifically. And one-on-one interaction is huge, as much as chatbots might help with the FAQs, more quotidian questions like, when is my order coming? When is the show coming to my hometown? Questions like that. And More personal questions are best answered, of course, by the artists themselves. And the more you can do, the better. The more you can interact with your fans, the more you can connect with them, get a sense for the kind of the collective inhabitus zeitgeist, as well as those individual people. And the better you'll be able to connect with those folks and possibly even gather more themes, lyrical themes to write about if you're learning more about what they're going through, good times and bad. That's more material for you, and that's more emotional investment for them. So it is a win-win. Mm-hmm. Now, according to some polling garnered via DK Music Business, some more popular social media content ideas would include performing covers. It's a strategy often utilized by an artist called Violet Orlandi, who I personally hold in high esteem and who has recently released his original content. You can also collaborate with other artists in the music industry. For example, Billie Eilish recently collaborated with Dave Grohl over in Los Angeles. Collaborations, especially if they are both popular fan favorites. In that event, you're basically conjoining two major audiences into one, and that can really mean miracles in raising your following, raising sales, raising almost everything. You can also do more humorous things like singing in the car. It doesn't have to be good singing, just make them laugh, make them cry, whichever you're aiming to do. You can do things like Now, on a side note, TikTok, according to DK Music Business, is the most popular social media platform among users between the ages of 16 and 24. So if polling, if gentle queries, whichever method you choose to use, shows that the majority of your fan base is within this demographic, that your target market is within the relatively young group of folks, then use that to your advantage. If you want to make that one of your primary one or two social media platforms, again, it's inadvisable to go beyond 2 or 3 major social media platforms, then by all means do that. There's a shame in that, and don't let youthism or any other youthist cliches or attitudes shape which platform you use. All right? The youth carry some of the best insights, in my personal opinion, that can be found at least as good an insight as anywhere, if not better. So, if you've got them, use that to your advantage. If that's the platform du jour, then, and most polling will suggest that it is, then by all means, use that. And yes, don't forget the covers. All right, covers are hot stuff. Everclear started out with a cover album. Violet Orlandi primarily started out with covers, but again, it's just an example. Let's roll this party on. Now, as with almost anything, you're going to want some quantitative means of ascertaining that your key performance indicators, or KPIs, i.e. measurements of the impact of your social media efforts, your marketing efforts, i.e. for example, where your sales are where you want them to be, album sales where you want them to be, ticket sales where you want them to be, concert attendance is where you want it to be, website traffic, and so on and so forth, and so on. What you're going to need is whatever native analytic platform is offered on the social media platform that becomes your niche. Some of the best recommended by, for example, Forbes magazine are with Spotify for Artists, Apple Music for Artists, and of course Facebook, are, as a bit behind the times as many people see it. It still retains some of the best analytic tools for measuring website traffic, user engagement, and pretty much everything you need to see the numeric side of where your key performance indicators are at. So if you've got them, use them, is all I got to say about that. Now, according to my research, the key performance indicators, KPIs, the 7 most germane to music business specifically, according to a wonderful resource called Fin Models Lab, are as follows. There's album sales growth rate, the ways in which album sales change over time, not necessarily where your sales are, but how they change after a year, 2 years, a few months, and so on. There's, of course, concert attendance / ticket sales. There's revenue garnered from merchandise sales. There's streaming and digital download numbers. There's your chart performance and rankings if you're up to that level. There's any number of partnership and endorsement deals secured, so any collaborations with, a major artist or endorsement of a product that you hopefully believe in that has secured you a major sum or major visibility. That will obviously be a huge impact on sales to come, as well as your digital footprint. Now, I think we can all agree that in the realm of finding new music to listen to, YouTube reigns supreme, not just in the land of social media, but in the internet subscribing world, period. And YouTube even has a specific app called. Now, I think we can all agree that in the realm of finding new music to listen to, YouTube reigns supreme.
Good to know.
Not just in the land of social media, but in the internet subscribing world, period. And YouTube even has a specific app called YouTube Music that directly caters to users in search of their favorite artist content or of completely new music. I would go so far as to warn new artists who are starting to gain a following to create a YouTube account at all costs. If users show enough interest in a given artist, enough to, for example, create lyric videos for their more popular songs, then YouTube will create a channel for Yep, if you don't have a YouTube channel of your own, they'll create a channel of your name. Example, Julian Freelove topic, to indicate that you do not create the channel. They are simply creating one to keep track of, whether that's your music or whatever works, entertainment works you've published. If you don't make one, they will. And that really would rather annoy me. And yeah, even if YouTube didn't become my primary, one of my primary social media platforms, I would still have that account in place just to upload videos, make sure my content was under my name that I would control over, posting remixes, making sure my work was my work, and just making sure anybody trying to interact with me on YouTube was actually interacting with me and not with, an imposter or a bot or just somebody up to nefarious activities. I know Miss Grid's trying to impersonate me. But enough of that. We need to get on. So let's do that.
Yes, let's. Jeez.
Remuneration. Now, the website for Sprout, which, for those of you who do not know, is a popular app for forming calendar and task mastering apps, they make no bones whatsoever about the hegemony of YouTube. And popular content writer Brent Barnhart informs us that YouTube is, and I'm quoting his words here, technically the most popular music streaming service right now, beating out Spotify and Apple Music. And the number one place where people will stream music, which is Spotify, Pandora, and a whole slew of other services. And most, either music promotion experts, to maintain as much control of the content as possible, I would definitely start with YouTube.
Yes, please.
I would create one social media platform for each of the big four: YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram.
And yes, dear, go on.
To maintain as much control over content as possible, I would definitely start with YouTube. I would create one social media platform for each of the big four: YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. And use view numbers for content from each platform in order to gauge a sense of where your audience is mostly coming from. At that point, I would focus on the more popular platforms and create a consistent posting schedule for each of these, and post on a consistent, albeit more infrequent, basis for the other platforms. And eventually what I would do is focus on just one or two of those, whichever one or two wins the race in terms of garnering the most. The most likes, the most meaningful comments, the most meaningful engagement with fans, and I would go to maintain as much control over content as possible.
And you would go from there.
And most, either music promotion experts or music artists themselves, will agree that maintaining one or two social media platforms as opposed to 4 or more, and having these 1 or 2 platforms that involve consistent posting schedules, consistent content in the said post, whether that's recording behind the scenes or live footage, that also involve direct communication with fans and maintenance of platform designs in terms of visuals, good 2D design, and frequent photographic updates or video updates on what the band is up to, whether that's on. Now, as has been stressed repeatedly, so their options around products have this point is I'm going to ask is the key to contests in high school. Okay, so
You were saying?
And the first thing you want to focus
so at this
on
point,
is
you're probably going to want to
branding.
ask is,
Not just your
well,
own brand, but
Julian,
also
this is all well
collaboration
and good.
with
Is it like a popularity contest in high
competitions,
school?
but
How do I
brands
monetize
looking
popularity
to
contests
help
in
get their
high
business
school?
off the ground and
Well,
make outreach.
first of all, you remember what I said about
Let's
YouTube?
remember this is in part a business.
Okay, so at this
As
point,
much as
what
you're
you're probably
thinking
going
about
to ask
Julian, I'm a
is,
musician, not an
well, Julian,
influencer, yada yada yada. Well,
Okay,
influencing is
one
part of the
out
game
of
these days. So, now if you find a company with a message you really like or a product that is extremely helpful, a good example of this is Jiran J. Zhao, who's a popular author and often works with Surfshark VPN. Finding a brand that has got a message you believe in and a product you believe in and that you use frequently. Those are always good things to get involved with. And is that way, if you're promoting their product, they will help sponsor your products and your projects as well. Promote products that will help you create your music and will help other fellow musicians. Of course, the other option is to promote products that will help you create your music and will help other fellow musicians to create their products as well. A good example of this is Violet Orlandi, who will frequently use a guitar tone producing software package called Neural DSP. And a good way to create outreach is to offer create a code by which new users or other musicians can, upon seeing your video or your song, take that code and get a discount on their product. Violet Orlandi, for example, will create a code where new users can take the code and get a 30% discount on any product produced by Neural DSP.
fine software, but we need to get on with this party.
Right. Another good example is to reach out to a music blogger and have them give your music a listen. Now, most folks, this costs nothing. This costs nothing but a little bit of their time. And if you've got a very well-crafted social media profile, one or two very well-shot, well-designed, well-crafted social media platforms, most likely they will lap it up like cream. Or at the very least, have the opportunity to listen to what you have to offer them like cream. Whether they like the actual music is, of course, another matter, but the better your social media outreach, the more likely they are to give you a listen. So there's definitely a monetary aspect to having a following, having for good interaction with fans, the likes, the follows, the interaction. It ain't worthless, honey. It is worth something. And these folks, also known professionally as tastemakers, are often instrumental to, no pun intended, instrumental to getting your music out and making sure that more folks who are following music are going to hear your name and hear what you have to offer them.
Okay, I can imagine what you must be thinking. But Julian, I'm already
merch.
bogged down
Oh,
with...
did I mention merch? Which might sound shamelessly materialistic to some, but hear me out on this, all right? Merch is key to establishing your brand as an artist. Whether you've established a logo, a slogan, and so on and so forth, merch is how you get that out there. It's an idea you really believe in, a design you really believe in, a visual art you really believe in. You might actually come to enjoy this. Now, helpful is, again, those polls and deciding what kind of updates fans want to see, what kind of merch fans want to see, by the same token. Yes, a ton of polls say, hey, would you be interested in buying from us, like a hoodie, a clutch purse, a laptop cover, and so on and so forth. And use what your fans tell you. Use what the most popular demographic, the most popular segment of your target market tells you. Just listen to your target market, always.
Okay, I can imagine what you must be thinking. But Julian, I'm already bogged down with getting these chord progressions written out, getting these lyrics written out, getting this recording done. How in heck am I supposed to engage with my fans in a meaningful way? Well, one way to kind of help budget your time is to use a chatbot. And true, chatbots are the antithesis of authentic, real connection with fans, but what they can do is save you time, or at least buy you time in reaching out to a fan if you are really and truly slammed with work, which we all are from time to time. What the chatbot can do is reassure a fan that you will get to them when you can. Like, for example, having like an automatic answer certain questions, like FAQs, like, when is my merch coming? When is my CD coming? Or, a more heartfelt query, like what's the inspiration behind this, that, and the other song, or comments like, I think you're amazing, the chatbot queries. Additionally, to quote what Music Gateway writer John says about chatbots, that really took me aback is that email marketing receives an average CTR, which, if you don't know, is click-through rate of around 5 to 10%, while the outreach of chatbots typically ranges from 15% to 60%. So, to quote his words, they are undoubtedly a highly effective and snappy solution for providing quick customer support, with especially those FAQs like, when is my shirt coming? When is my vinyl coming? There are also on sale tickets for this, that, and the other show. So any reassurance that you will respond when you can, and also adds like a personal touch. And they're also a good way of communicating message to your followers on a mass scale. Like updates, announcements, competition. So, having said all that, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. And I hope you have fun planning, organizing, and getting to know the folks we're going to come to know and love your works. Have a great day. Okay, and these are all 4 pages of sources. And definitely, if you'd like to look through these, how you will, please do. And thank you very much, and have a great night. Bye-bye.